Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 320, as the NBA playoffs are almost finally upon us. Had the first realization or the first conversation with the wife where she had the realization when she asked me, she's like, so what are your plans Saturday? And I'm like, oh boy, she hasn't really clocked where we're at on the calendar yet. I'm like, well, my plans this Saturday and this Sunday and the following Saturday and the following Sunday and really the next 10 Saturdays and Sundays are actually pretty simple to figure out. I'll be sitting on this fancy new couch you just bought watching playoff basketball for about 12 straight hours both days. And so, sadly, I guess that means I won't be going to the Kendrick Lamar concert Saturday night in New York. You know who might be going, Damonza? Welcome in, Damonza. You're going to love this. What'd you say?
Diora.
No, Diora is in Santa Cruz this week, but you're
close.
She
is in Santa Cruz. Oh, Deanna's going to the Kendrick concert?
I think so. I think with your
What?
mom. I think your mom and your 11-year-old sister are going to the Kendrick Lamar concert. I'll be watching Lakers-Timberwolves. So, yeah, as much as I like Kendrick, I like my side of that equation. Here's what missed the cut for today's show. Jalen Hurts named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. A handful of other sports people made it. And I'm not going to do too much on this, but I did find it. So I checked last year's list as well. Mahomes made it last year. Hurts made it this year. So maybe it's just Super Bowl champion quarterback tends to make it. But now in the last 2 years of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people list, 3 women's basketball players have made it. None of them are named Caitlin Clark. That seems like maybe a bit of a miss for influential people. It's not like the 100 best athletes. Asia Wilson made it 2 years ago. Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart made it this year. That was because of their partnership with Unrivaled. I don't know, man. I'm no expert on influence. I think Caitlin Clark at some point the last couple of years has been pretty influential. But I'm not going to freak out about it. Travis Hunter says, if you're not going to let me play both ways, I'll never play football again. I don't think he's serious about not playing football again. I do think he's serious about, hey, Cleveland Browns, if you're going to draft me, I want to play on both sides of the ball. And the Yankees sweep the Royals. That was a bummer. Really not how I wanted to spend my nights at Yankee Stadium watching the Royals get swept, but such is life. Also, double missed the cut. Listen, evidently 124 light years away or something crazy. There's probably life on another planet. Matt Ford, fearless leader of this show, is super into this topic. I might be super into this topic in July or August, but today, Scout's honor, and I'm not a scout, we are getting to the NFC over-unders. We've bumped them on 4 straight shows, so I don't have time to talk aliens. I do have time to thank you guys for watching us on YouTube. And if you are watching us on YouTube and sometimes the video looks a little choppy, starting Tuesday we have a new computer that'll fix some things up. And so hopefully, if that is a little annoying for you, that'll be fixed by Tuesday. I thought that computer got porch pirated from the house. Then I realized I had it sent to a different location. Because the producers were like, hey, that fancy new computer, it says it was delivered. And I was like, definitely wasn't delivered. But then I checked and realized it was delivered to a safe, secure location. So Tuesday, that'll be better. Also, I think during today's show, we're going to hit 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. You could be, guess what? Our 200,000 subscriber, I don't know what you get. I don't actually know how to figure out who you are. But you could have the knowing that you were the one. If you're watching on YouTube and not subscribed, please click subscribe. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or whatever, subscribe there. Damonza, let's get to the Warriors avoiding total disaster.
Yeah, so playoff Jimmy has arrived, or play-in Jimmy, whatever you want to call it. He cooked. Him and Steph combined for 75 points in that game the other day. And he seems pretty confident in their ability to push through the playoffs and possibly make it to the finals. But saying, I think any team has a chance to win when I'm on the team, but I know any team that has Steph on the team has a chance to win. And Golden State is minus 200 against the Rockets in this series. Do you think that they deserve to be favored there?
Certainly not big favorites. And listen, I'll just lead with the lead. I think the Rockets are going to win. I I do not know how anyone could have watched Warriors-Grizzlies and come away more confident in the Golden State Warriors. You can be more confident in playoff Jimmy and playoff Jimmy's ability to generate fouls and get to the free throw line, and that is even more Jimmy's ability that a decade plus into his career, no one has figured out, guys, he's going to pump fake. Guys, he's not actually going to go up on the first attempt. He just wants to get you in the air, and then he just wants to jump directly into your chest and get to the free throw line. That is doubly valuable on the Warriors, Damonza, because he gets the Warriors in the bonus, and by getting them in the bonus, then if you clutch or grab Steph off the ball, it's a free 2 points. When you have the greatest free throw shooter in NBA history on your team, if your team gets in the bonus, that is super valuable. He was great. Steph, it's so interesting with Steph because I talked about this on the TV show. I maybe mentioned it here. Well, a couple things on Steph, and then we'll get to why I'm not as confident in the Warriors. People were mad that Buddy Hield got the potential game-tying shot against the Clippers and not Steph. And Steph's career, he's not been good at, final seconds to tie or win the game shots. He's like 22% on threes in his career, playoffs and regular season in that spot. He is, however, the best ever by a mile at dagger threes. At up one late, up two late, and hit the three that just absolutely lights the arena on fire and rips the opponent's heart out. And he hit a couple of those in this game. Also, I did find it interesting, and credit to him, on Tuesday's show, I talked about how he gets subbed out offense, defense late in games. And with 57 seconds left in that game, they did sub him out for defense. In a part of a Reggie Miller masterclass of broadcasting. They said Steph is resting. He was not resting. He was taken out for defensive purposes. But then, with 5 seconds left in a defensive possession, they put him back in. He guarded the inbounder and generated a 5-second call.
Wait, did you want Reggie Miller to be like, yes, Stephen Curry's not great at defense. He's a liability, so he's sitting down right now?
No, he doesn't have to add his opinion, but they could have just said what the actual facts. It was not that he was resting. It was offense, defense substitutions. I would have expected an accurate portrayal. However, that was a Reggie tour de force on that call. Ja turns his ankle. He's like, did he actually step on someone's foot? No way to tell. Rub some dirt on it. Is he taking Advil? What's going? It's just it was so bad that Kevin Wildes, who is the nicest person in the world and never says anything bad about anyone, sent out the following tweet. The suggestions I'm hearing for healing Ja's ankle: go to his happy place, take an Advil and hop on the bike, walk it off, tie his sneakers very tight. That's as close to cutting commentary about another broadcaster as you'll ever get from old KW on Twitter. But that's neither here nor there. Warriors got the win, but that was ugly, man. You're up 20 against a Grizzlies team that has beaten, in the last 2.5 months, Damonza, the Grizzlies have beaten one above 500 team, the Detroit Pistons. And Ja gets hurt and has to miss time, and it's still, you're trailing in the fourth quarter. And there were a lot to me of just really flashing red lights about the Warriors and about being concerned about the Warriors in this matchup against Houston. Here's the first one. They didn't play Edey off the court, which means Houston's going to be able to play Steven Adams. If you can't, Zach Edey, listen, Edey, had some really good moments and some really bad moments. He's got to, and I don't want to sound like your 7th grade junior high gym teacher, but keep the ball above your head, kid. Get the rebound. Keep it up. Don't bring it down. You're 7'4". The Warriors aren't playing anybody over 6'8". Keep the ball up, and then you're not going to get stripped and get in those problems. But he was a force, obviously, on the glass. And again, Damonza against the Rockets, who are the best offensive rebounding team in the league, that now showed me, if they want to play Şengün and Steven Adams at the same time, they're going to be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
And just crush Golden State on the glass. Now, you might say, how are those guys going to defend in space? Here's the other sneaky thing about the Warriors. With these lineups they're now rolling out there, they have a lot of guys that you do not have to guard at the three-point line. Draymond's been hitting threes. They will let Draymond shoot. Jimmy Butler will make one clutch 3 a game, and other than that, just turn them down. Gary Payton is not trying to shoot threes. There's a lot of guys in...
One. Yeah, it's just Pods.
Say it again?
Curry. Just Pods and
no,
Curry.
Pods will shoot.
Yeah.
And so it's weird to say about a Warriors team that is the greatest shooter of all time, but they're not an unbelievable shooting team because of the people they have out there. That's why they're playing the kid that was drafted 3 picks ahead of Bronny, Quentin Post, the 7-footer, to go shoot threes. And so I think this is how I would handicap the series as far as who I think is... The Warriors obviously have the best player. They have the best player by a considerable margin. So Steph's the best player. Şengün's the second best player. Jimmy Butler's the third best player. And then Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, then Draymond Green, and then 5 Rockets. Fred VanVleet, even though not a huge fan of his, Dylan Brooks, the entire Rockets bench. You'd take all those guys over Moody or Gary Payton or Looney or whomever, Quentin Post, Guy Santos, guys the Warriors are playing. Kuminga's now just done, out of the rotation entirely.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say if the Warriors see themselves go down, like, do you think there's a chance Kuminga pops out in this series? Like, if it gets a little okay.
I think that so I'm gonna read you a quote that I read in an article last night.
I feel like you don't want to pass the ball to Steph as much as they want him to.
I left out Buddy Hield, by the way. When I was talking shooters, obviously Hield's a great shooter, but Hield was considered unplayable by the Sixers in their playoff lineups last year. And the Kuminga thing's weird. So from the San Jose Mercury News yesterday, Kuminga skipped pregame introductions and arrived late to the bench before both Sunday and Tuesday's DNP coach decision games. After Sunday's game, he took to the court and put up shots instead of using one of the Warriors' many practice courts, which are mostly hidden from cameras and reporters. Did he fulfill his role, as modest as it might have been, or did he try to do his own thing, was the question that they ended the article on. And so I say all that to say this. I like the Rockets in this series. And I certainly think the Warriors being bigger favorites against the Rockets than the Lakers are against the Timberwolves is crazy to me. Like, I don't look at this as a series I'd be shocked if the Warriors won, obviously. But I do think this is going to be a hard-fought 7 games, and this Game 7's in Houston. And what an amazing moment for the Rockets fans when every year standing between them and a finals appearance when they had a real championship caliber team were these Golden State Warriors. And now you have, in my opinion, the better team, certainly the more rested team, maybe the healthier team. Steph's playing amazing despite the fact that he has a soft cast on his shooting hand. It's remarkable, but that concerns me. You have multiple guys that are excited to mix it up with Jimmy and Steph and Dillon Brooks and Amen Thompson, and you can potentially knock them out of the playoffs. And either way, whoever wins this series is going to be beat to hell getting into round 2 with the Lakers waiting for him. And so that yes, obviously for the Lakers, they would have rather the Grizzlies won the Warriors-Grizzlies game, and then there's their route to the conference finals, road to the conference finals, means round 2 you're either playing a super young Rockets team or this incredibly foolish Grizzlies team. But I just don't look at the Warriors as the juggernaut that they appeared to be 2 weeks ago. Since then, the Rockets shut them down. They blew a game to the Spurs. They lost to the Clippers in a game they treated like a Game 7. And they damn near blew a game to a Grizzlies team that hasn't beaten a good team in 2.5 months. And so, I will say this, and this is a concern. If we expect these games to be close, Damonza, who do you trust on the Rockets to go get a bucket late? That I guess
Sengun.
The answer is Jalen Green.
Oh,
Who'd you say?
Well, obviously Sengun's not taking the ball up, but I'd say get Sengun the ball in the paint. I mean, if you need a 3, then 100% Jalen Green. Van Vliet's also got championship experience.
Who has championship experience? Van Vliet. That is true. Yeah. No. Van Vliet does.
And I've seen he's hit big shots in some big spots too. So I mean,
oh yeah, Van Vliet had some huge shots in the NBA Finals against Steph. That's the other thing. Like, you just have a lot of guys with a lot of belief that they can at least hamper or annoy Steph. Steph's going to be great. And here's the other thing about Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy scored 38 and was brilliant. Jimmy was brilliant against the Clippers. And it maybe seems like I was a little too pessimistic about playoff Jimmy existing this year. But he's not going to be putting up these 30-plus point games with regularity. Even prime playoff Jimmy was not doing that. He would pop off for these big games, and then he would have somewhat more quiet games. And so I did not think it was a positive that they needed 38 from him, 37 from Steph, and that it still came down to the final moments.
Yeah, skate by, and I think there was a lot of times in that game where they took Curry like completely out of it, and like Scottie Pippen, that was Scottie Pippen Jr. And you have the Houston Rockets, who are a better defensive team all around. So I think they'll be able to mitigate that really well.
Yep. You can go ahead with your follow-up questions before we move on.
Oh gosh, the thing just exited out on me. Yeah, so Draymond and Steven. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. Draymond and Steven Adams have a history of a couple groin shots and body slams. Set a fake line on Draymond incidents this series.
Well, listen, I think that is a real storyline. I think that's a real storyline is Draymond and Dillon Brooks both trying to bait the other guy. Here is what I would say is the difference. Draymond is so much more important to the Warriors than Dillon Brooks is to the Rockets. So there will be a bunch of, double technicals, stare downs, and I am historically not at all a fan of Dillon Brooks. And one of the reasons I'm not a fan of Dillon Brooks is I think he's a dirty, dangerous player. But that's also a huge bummer for the Warriors. Because Dillon Brooks will try to undercut somebody. Dillon Brooks will do things that put other guys in jeopardy. And Draymond is just going to play incredibly physical and tough and might occasionally, like, now, I guess, Draymond does have a soft spot for hitting European centers. This is kind of his favorite thing. Or, you know what I mean? Whether it's Steven Adams, he's not European, Rudy Gobert, Domantas Sabonis. Yeah. So maybe Şengün needs to keep his head on a swivel. But, this is going to be a real fight. And Ime Udoka is going to encourage the fight.
Yeah.
That's the other piece of it.
Yeah.
And I thought, before we move on to Lakers-Wolves, I thought the officiating in Warriors-Grizzlies was an utter abomination. And I thought it was an abomination in the worst way, which is the refs seem to be almost intentionally controlling the flow of the game. And by that, I mean this. The first 45 minutes of that game were so unfairly officiated in the Warriors' favor. It was, Jimmy had 18 free throws. It was every single close call went the Warriors' way. And then despite that, the Grizzlies were in it. And then it felt like the refs were like, okay, time to switch sides. And then there were 3 just phantom, awful calls against the Warriors that made it to where, okay, this game's going to come down to the final minute, final seconds. And then it felt to me like the refs were like, okay, let's get even again, 5 seconds on the Grizzlies, game over. And so I thought it was one of the most poorly officiated games of the year. And I just hope that the refs do a better job when the actual playoffs begin. Because what you see too often is one team gets a hugely beneficial whistle. The refs then, it feels like, catch a glimpse of the scoreboard and see the free throw differential, and then they're like, okay, time to get it about even. Don't want anyone to say that, we were being unfair here. And so I absolutely hate that, and I hope in the postseason the refs are better. All right, let's get to Lakers-Timberwolves.
Lakers have the second best odds in the West to win the title right now at minus 195. Anthony Edwards says he loves the position that the Timberwolves...
Hold on, real quick. Hold on. The second best odds to win in the West to win the title, minus 195 in round 1.
In round 1, sorry.
You're fine. Go ahead.
And, so Anthony Edwards says he loves where the Timberwolves are at right now and saying, I love the fact that everybody wants the Lakers to win. That's how it's supposed to be. They don't want the Timberwolves to win, and I get that. What is the key to this series?
Well, the only chance the Timberwolves have is if Julius Randle, for the first time in his career, plays well in the playoffs. And we've never seen that happen. So I'm going to pull it up. I'm looking down if you're watching on YouTube because I'm pulling it up on my phone. Julius Randle's playoff career is truly disastrous. And it's not overstated. It's not being unfair. It is what it is. It is in 2021 in the first round against the Hawks. That's the famous Trae Young series. You see, he was 18, 11, and 4. That's actually good. On 29% from the field. So his first playoff series ever, he was 29% from the field. Then 2 years later, against Cleveland in round 1, he was 14 and 6 a game. That was after an All-NBA season on 33% from the field. And they won that series. And then the next round against Miami, he was 18 and 10, which is much better, on 41% from the field, which is okay. In his playoff career, is 28% from 3. And then last year, obviously, he was hurt for the playoffs, and it didn't really seem like Knicks fans were all that bummed about it. And so he is yet to have a single great playoff series. And even if you go to individual playoff games, you are hard-pressed to find more than one good one. Game 1 2 years ago against Miami, he was really good. He was 25, 12, and 8 on 44% from the field, which is about as good as you can hope for from him. But in his playoff career, and he has one other game against Miami where he was 20 and 9 on 61%. But what's that joke everybody likes to make? He's shooting tour dates or whatever. That thing.
311.
Yeah, so in his career, in ascending order, he is in the playoffs from the field. 2 for 15, 3 for 15, 3 for 14, 6 for 23, 4 for 15, 3 for 10, 5 for 16, 7 for 20, 7 for 19, 8 for 21, and then 5 games, 40% from the field or better. 8 for 20, 8 for 18, 4 for 9, and then the 2 good games. 7 for 13 and 8 for 13.
Go ahead and swing
so
that
that's a
rock,
15-game playoff sample size. He's been good in 2 of them. So he's got to be. What are you laughing about? That I'm being too mean?
No. After you said that, I whispered, "Go ahead and swing that rock, big dog." But I don't think you.
I didn't hear it. Yeah. So for real though, so that is he's got to be good for them to have a chance. And by the way, gonna be tough because he's gonna be on the other end. He's gonna be guarding LeBron James a lot.
Yeah.
So he is the absolute key. Now, other than him, I am really interested in how much energy can Austin Reeves make Anthony Edwards expend on the defensive end? Because I know there have been some thoughts that Ant is going to try to guard LeBron or Luka. That's a terrible idea. Ant's a very good defender, but he is simply too small for either one of those guys. Jaden McDaniels will spend a lot of time on LeBron and Luka. Julius Randle will spend some time on LeBron and Luka. Naz Reid might try. Dante's not going to be able to do it. But point is, Anthony Edwards is going to end up matched up on Austin Reeves a fair amount. Now, I don't think the Lakers have anybody who can slow down Anthony Edwards. Now, oddly, they did well against him in the regular season, but I would just go ahead and pencil in Anthony Edwards for 30 a game. He's going to average 30 in this series. Just so be it. Can Austin make him have to defend enough and run around enough that he is a little tired on the offensive end at the end of these games? Because you do remember that I get it. You had to trade Luka Doncic because he's an out-of-shape alcoholic. I understand, Nico. But it was Anthony Edwards, who might as well be chiseled out of granite, who said he was exhausted in the conference finals last year, not Luka. And so now it's a lot of time off, and it's round 1, and there's a lot of days between the games. But how much energy can you make Ant expend on the defensive end? And then the only way for, in my opinion, for the Timberwolves to have a real chance is if Luka's 3 is not falling. Because if Luka's 3 is falling, then what you are going to see is LeBron really picking and choosing his spots in the first 3 quarters of these games and then taking over in the fourth. Something he has not had the luxury of doing much at all in his whole career, but certainly in his Lakers career. But you saw it in that Lakers-Mavs game where LeBron, hand off the joystick for the first 3 quarters, then best player on the court in the fourth quarter. You've seen it a few times this year. And so Julius Randle's got to be good for them to have a chance. Naz Reid's going to be super important. And I haven't even mentioned Rudy Gobert because here's the thing. I think Rudy's in a really rough spot here. It's not just that Luka has tortured him on multiple continents. It's not just that Luka hit the biggest shot of his career over him. But it's also that the Lakers want to play small. His offensive limitations will allow them to play small because they're not going to be able to just, dump the ball down to Gobert and be like, hey, you have Dorian Finney-Smith or Rudy Hachimura on you. Give us that sweet baby hook you've got. That's not going to be a thing. And defensively, we have seen if you play 5 out, Rudy really, really struggles. So I would guess that Ant is awesome, and it doesn't matter all that much in this series. And I said it to you guys on Tuesday. I'll say it again. The Lakers minus a game and a half at plus 120, I think is probably my favorite bet of this round of the playoffs. All right, what else do you have on this series?
Do you think this could be the start of a Luka-Ant rivalry?
So, I'd love that. And I do think that they have personalities that would mesh for a rivalry.
Yeah.
I do think that both of these teams, they should meet in the playoffs consistently moving forward. I don't look at Ant yet as the caliber of player of Luka. And I don't think that there is much of an argument. What, Damonza?
You don't see them as the same caliber of player? I get Luka's slightly better.
Yeah, I look at Luka as a guy I expect to win multiple MVPs. There's only 2 other guys in the league in that caliber, and they both already have multiple. As far as prime guys, I mean, in Giannis and Jokic. And I look at Ant as a guy who might win one. You know what I mean? So, if you set Luka career MVPs number at 1.5, I would immediately say over. And if you set Ant's number of career MVPs at 0.5, I would say I got to really think about this. So that, that's the... And I think it's an almost impossibility that Luka never wins a league MVP. And I think it's a coin flip if Ant does. So again, we're in the margins here, but yeah, I do and I think a good evidence of that is if the Lakers had traded Anthony Edwards, Max Christie, and a first-round pick, if the Lakers had traded Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick for Anthony Edwards, we wouldn't 2 months later still be like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Is it because they want to move the team? You would have legitimately, debates on each side. Okay, who got better? Does it make sense? And I understand for the way the Timberwolves are constructed, it wouldn't even make sense. But yeah, that's how I. So, and I really like Ant, but I think he needs to level up a tiny bit. Now, he's not as old as Luka. You know what I mean? He hasn't been in the league quite as long, and so there is that. Go ahead.
Were you done with the first follow-up? I was going to ask if you see JJ Redick's stock rising or how much you see it rising this offseason.
Well, it depends on the playoff run. I mean, if they get bounced in round one, it won't. People will be like, Darvin Ham made conference finals his first year. But I think it's already pretty obvious that J.J. Redick has done an excellent job his first year as Lakers head coach. Now we'll see how he handles the playoffs. I know in some circles, there is a belief that the Lakers have been kind of using a playoff-style defense in the regular season and to deal with their lack of size. And that might have been a mistake by JJ because now they're not going to have an extra gear and more people have seen it so they can prepare for it. I'm less concerned with that than others. But yeah, I think JJ's done an excellent job. I think that there was a legitimate argument to include him on Coach of the Year ballots this year. And so credit to JJ, who people know I historically not the biggest fan of as far as a media presence, but he did a really good job. All right, let's go to the play-in and stuff.
And so the Mavs and the Heat, they live to fight another day. They face the Grizzlies and the Hawks tomorrow. The Magic also already advanced, and they face my Celtics in round one. Do you think the Celtics have anything to worry about there?
Absolutely not.
All right, yeah.
And listen, the Magic are a very good defensive team. They cannot score. And now the Magic are the best team in the league at denying three-pointers, and the Celtics live at the three. But this is how I feel about your Celtics this round. Then I have a question for you. If this series goes 6 games, it is a failure by Boston.
Yeah.
Sweeping teams is hard. So, if Orlando gets one, so be it. But if you guys are playing a game 6 against the Magic, then I would start to be like, oh, maybe the championship hangover is real. There's no reason whatsoever to put yourself in a position against this Magic team where this thing is not over in 4 or 5. And I know Jalen's been saying all the right things and the team's saying all the right things. Would you be against the Boston Celtics saying, Jalen, take 2 full weeks, man. We don't need you this round. We're going to let you rest and get that knee as healthy as possible for a round 2 battle against likely the Knicks.
I mean, we could probably rest somebody in round 2 if we wanted to. But yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
I don't think you could rest people against the Knicks.
All right.
I think if the Knicks are fully healthy, you'll need your full complement. But, I mean, it's certainly not rest your second best player.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe not Jaylen Brown, but we could rest somebody.
Sure. And so I don't think they will. But that, to me, is the most interesting part of Celtics Magic is not who's going to win. The most interesting part of Celtics Magic is how does Jaylen Brown's knee look? And the most interesting part of Thunder Grizzlies or Thunder Mavs honestly should be nothing. The Mavs will not be able to score with the Thunder, and the Grizzlies will not be able to defend the Thunder. I would be shocked if either one of those goes 6, and I do not care who the Cavs play in round 1. I'm just telling you right now. They're either playing the Hawks or the Heat, and they will crush either one of them. All right, one more before you get to playoff predictions. One more follow-up.
Yeah. Do you think that it is? Oh yeah. Is it more likely that tomorrow will be the last time that we see Trae in Atlanta or Ja on Memphis?
Probably Trae in Atlanta, but here is what I find interesting. We have, and just odd coincidence, but they all play the same position. They were all taken within 4 years of each other in the draft. They were all top 5 picks. This triumvirate of silly Southeastern point guards. Ja in Memphis, LaMelo in Charlotte, and Trae in Atlanta. And Trae's been in the league the longest. This year's 7 for Trae.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I was about to say Trae not as much as the other guys, but I see where you're going there.
I mean, I don't know. Trae was playing keep away from a ref in a playoff game
It was like
and
this
got
high
thrown
school
out
bully
because of
stuff
it.
that he was
I
doing
know.
to the ref. There.
That was crazy. It was like, honest to God,
It was disrespectful.
Trae did to the ref what Damonza used to do to Diora after his games. I never seen anything like it. Like, oh, you want the ball? Nope, it's mine. Like, it's really just a remarkable thing that he did. And so I think that a three-way, three-team trade of Ja to Charlotte, just get him in a more peaceful city, less to do. Ja to Charlotte, him and Brandon Miller, that's interesting. LaMelo to Atlanta, because that's an unserious franchise anyway. LaMelo would love it there and might as well, you know what I mean, give him some highlights. And Trae to Memphis, where they have theoretically a good enough defensive personnel they can cover for some of his offensive woes. He can play true point guard. I think that's interesting. It obviously wouldn't happen, but I think all three of those guys for their careers could use a change of scenery. And you could kind of sell the fans on all three of those trades potentially.
Yeah. Did you feel a little like I felt a little I don't want to say I felt bad. I did feel bad. I felt a little bad for Ja Morant watching the Golden State game. He seemed like a shell of himself. Take the celebrations away from him. He hits a three. He goes back all solemn. It's just like it's funny seeing that.
God forbid. Just be serious on the basketball court for a minute in the biggest game of the season. I mean, listen, this poor guy who wasn't able to pantomime explosions, during a huge game. No, I didn't. Listen. I want the best for Ja. I like him. I like his dad. I love the city of Memphis. And I understand people are probably mad at me because I've been one of the biggest public scolds the last few weeks towards him. But it just, at some point, you got to grow up. All right, let's quick hitter do these other playoff series, but go ahead.
So the only series that Vegas really has close is Denver and the Clippers, which is basically a coin toss or a pick 'em, whatever you want to call it. What do you make of these series and how they're being priced?
All right, so the Knicks are minus 400 against Detroit. Detroit's plus 310. I think that's too high of a price. I do expect this series to go 6 games. I'm really excited to watch Cade Cunningham in the playoffs. Like that, my biggest thing is watch Cade Cunningham in the playoffs and watch the Knicks in the playoffs. This, fully healthy Knicks team, see how they look. But I would be very surprised if Detroit won. I just think plus 310 is too big of a price. Pacers, Bucks. The Pacers are clearly the better team. I honestly think they're the better coach team. Both teams have championship coaches in Carlisle and Doc, but I think Pacers better coach team. Giannis, since Dame went out, has been playing point center. He's averaging 9 assists a game and has just been awesome. Giannis also has not won a playoff game or series in 3 years. Milwaukee, even though they're the underdog, they've got to win. You can't go out in the first round 3 straight years during Giannis's prime. Boston, Orlando, just stay healthy, everybody. We've talked a lot about Lakers, Minnesota, and Golden State, Houston. And Denver Clippers, man, oh man, I cannot wait to watch every single game of that series. Jamal Murray back. The Clippers, have their championship starting 5. And it's been so weird to hear people that just want to vote. And Joker's unbelievable and was unbelievable this year. But people that just want the MVP every single year, no matter what, to go to Nikola Jokic, recreate this Nuggets team like it's some just shit team that is when it's their championship starting 5, basically. 4 of their 5 key players are champions. Now, I don't love their bench at all. Russ has been bad. I don't think it is overall nearly as complete of a team as Joker deserves. But this idea that it's just this horseshit roster that had to be dragged to 50 wins. Now, if he were to make the finals with this roster, that is unreal. But, and shout out to Zach Lowe for, making it clear, but this idea that, no one on Denver other than Joker would get minutes for Oklahoma City, and that's why Joker's the MVP over Shea. There are 4 guys on the Nuggets who would play big minutes for the Thunder. Joker, obviously, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. Now, the rest of their players wouldn't crack the Thunder's rotation, which is why the Thunder are so deep and so good, but let's not overstate that. The key to Denver Clippers, other than the obvious, will Kawhi stay healthy, is going to be, do we get playoff Jamal Murray? That's a positive. And do we get playoff James Harden? That's a negative. And also, what can Chris Dunn do defensively on the perimeter against the Nuggets? And does interim head coach Adelman, Dave Adelman, you're old, man, when you start doing the thing that I used to laugh at broadcasters for doing, which is they call the famous son the dad's name. So Rick Adelman was a famous NBA coach forever. Whenever I see Dave Adelman, I think of Rick, but set that aside. Will Dave Adelman have the courage to sit Russell Westbrook in crunch time? Because that's what you're going to have to do. And so that is...
That's crazy, man. We talk about. Just got to sit him in crunch time. It's not like a defensive liability. It's just if the game is close and if it's on the wire, Westbrook can't be on the court.
You can't trust him.
Jeez.
I mean, Russ... listen, fair's fair. I did this to Julius Randle. I should do it to Russ. Russ playoff series the last few years, I mean, it's truly unfathomable. So last year against Dallas, 19 minutes per game, gave you a nice, robust 6-4-1 on 23% shooting. Okay? Oh, no, that's not fair. I'm sorry. 23% from 3. He was 26% from the field. The previous year in round 1, scored a lot and had, I think, one really good game, still 41% from the field. The previous time he was in the playoffs, when he was the best player on the Wizards in that series, 33% from the field. Russell Westbrook, since Kevin Durant left the Thunder, so think about how long that is. Since Kevin Durant left the Thunder, is shooting in the postseason 38% from the field, 29% from 3. I mean, that is, Kevin Durant left the Thunder a year before Luka was drafted. So, it's a long time. And so you just can't play him. And so I wonder if Adelman will be able to do it. And by the way, maybe he will, because supposedly one of the issues for Michael Malone was he wanted to keep playing him. And he wanted to play him, in crunch time over the young guys. All right,
the firing actually did make sense as time went by and facts came out. Honestly,
yeah,
it was crazy at the time. But
it seems like it.
Yeah.
And it seems like the players were fine with it. All right, I promised we were going to get to the NFC over-unders. But before we do that, the NBA 82-game grind is done. And now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props. Pardon me. And that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30, 40, more? Your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download, help me out here, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, lock in your bets, and make this playoff run unforgettable. Something special for first-timers, new DraftKings customers. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code WRIGHT. That's code WRIGHT, W-R-I-G-H-T, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, all of our win totals, by the way, are courtesy of DraftKings. And a recap of what we did in the AFC. We went under on the Patriots, over on the Jets, under on the Steelers, a tentative over on the Ravens, over on the Jags, under on the Titans, over on the Chiefs, and over on the Raiders. All right, Damonza, you go ahead and give me each team, and we'll do the NFC as quickly as we can here. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So you've got the Eagles. They're over-under set at 11.5.
So if I had to make a pick here, I would go slight under, but you don't have to make a pick. Like, it's a tougher schedule. Did the Super Bowl relax them a bit? But they did, they won 14 games last year. But I would, that's a stay away for me. And this next one is a more interesting one. Go ahead.
We got the Commanders. Their over-under is 9.5.
So I'm going to go under 9.5 for the Commanders, purely because I think the whole world's going to be on the over. I think that schedule's tougher. I think that you're not going to sneak up on anybody. I had the schedule in front of me. I'm going to pull it up again. We talked about this actually on the TV show yesterday. So they don't have a single game outside of the division with a team that everyone expects to be awful. So, and again, we're not always right about that, but they don't have any what I would call layup games. So their home schedule outside of the division: Seattle, Chicago, Denver, the Raiders, the Lions. That's not brutal, but no layups. Now, maybe you think the Raiders are going to be awful. I don't. Their road schedule, no easy ones either. Packers, Chiefs, Chargers, Vikings, Falcons, Dolphins. So you add to that, Dak should be healthy. You would think he's going to be healthy. I think the Giants are going to be slightly better. I think everyone's going to be on the Commanders. I think that you now have a little more tape on Jaden. And last year, they were so great in the clutch, close games. I'll go slight under. The Cowboys are at 7.5. That's a stay away to me. That number's exactly right. And now the interesting one, Damonza.
Yeah, we got the Giants. Their over-under is 5.5.
Over-under 5.5 with plus money on the over, plus 115. I like the Giants over. I think the Giants, the head coach and GM know if we're not good this year, we're fired. So I expect them on draft day to be aggressive. Like you could see them potentially trading future picks to move up because they're like, well, if we're not good, those aren't going to be our picks. That's somebody else's problem. Yeah. They're going to be able to draft Abdul Carter at number 3. They're going to go from Tommy DeVito at quarterback and Daniel Jones at quarterback to Russell Wilson, who will be fine. Won't be good, will be fine. Can the Giants win 7 games? I think they can. I like the Giants over. Let's go to the NFC North.
First off, we got the Lions. Their over-under is 10.5.
So this will be a tentative over for me, for the Detroit Lions. I've battled with this one a bit. I don't think they're going to be a 15-win juggernaut again, but you get Aiden Hutchinson back. I don't love losing both coordinators. And by the way, this might be a flip-flop. I don't like I am I'm rescinding what I said there. This is a stay away.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Go ahead.
Given what you said about the Commanders, like more confident in them winning less than going under 9.5 than the Lions 10.
Well, I think the Lions. Listen, the Lions' concern for me is the coordinator losses. Like that to me is losing both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And how much does being so close to the Super Bowl the last 2 years hurt them? But I still think they're the best team in that division. And do I think that division's not going to have any team win 11 games? Probably not. But I had said this was a tentative over when I talked about it on TV. I was squeamish about it. That's a stay away for me. All right, let's go to the other ones.
We got the Packers. Their over-under is 9.5.
That, to me, is the exact right line, so I'll stay away from that one as well. I think the Packers, again, if I had to pick, I would pick an under, but you don't have to pick. You don't have to bet these. This is a big year for Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And where it's not that people are out on Jordan Love, but not quite as in on him as they were this time last year when they were a trendy Super Bowl pick. I also think the division's brutal. So that, to me, that number is exactly right. And, I'll stay away from it. Next one.
I feel like I know where you're going here. We got the Bears over under 8.5.
Yeah, you do know where I'm going. I am going over.
Yeah.
I think a much better offensive line, a much better Caleb Williams, a much better head coach. And another opportunity to draft an impact player in the top 10. All those reasons. I'm not going to say Bears to the Super Bowl like I did last year. That was a mistake. But I think they should be in the mix for a wild card spot all year. I also still crazily think that if they don't allow that Hail Mary against Washington, maybe that whole season goes differently. But it was probably good for them to clean house the way they did. But I will take the Bears over. And now the most intriguing one in the division, Damonza.
We've got the Vikings. They're over under set at 8.5.
With heavy juice on the over at minus 145. So I'm going to stay away from this one. The question is really, how much do I trust Kevin O'Connell? Do I think that Kevin O'Connell, with any healthy quarterback, can just get you to double-digit wins? They won 13 games with Kirk Cousins. They won 14 games with Sam Darnold. And the reason it's a stay away for me is because they seem at least a little unsure about the health of J.J. McCarthy's knee, and that concerns me by itself. But I love the infrastructure. I really like the roster. And so I will stay away for now. Somebody like whoever finishes last in that division is going to be devastated. Like every team in that division feels like they should be a playoff team. The Vikings are projected to finish last. They won 14 games last year. So my only pick in that division is the Bears over. I'm going to save us time here. On the NFC South, my lean is I'm staying away from this entire gross division. The Bucks number is 9.5, the Falcons number 7.5, the Saints number 6.5, and the Panthers number is 6.5. And I'm staying away from that entire division because there are 3 picks in the NFC West I like. So let's go through them.
First, we got the Niners. They're over under set at 10.5. And you're going under
I like
there.
the under.
Yeah.
I think that them being the favorites to win that division and having the highest win total in that division is disrespectful to the Rams. I also think a team that lost Hufanga and Greenlaw and Debo and, was clearing out this money to pay Brock, and we don't know how healthy Christian McCaffrey's going to be. We don't know when Brandon Ayuk's going to be back from his ACL. We don't know when finally Trent Williams, the age is going to show up. I love Shanahan. I think this is the least talented roster he's had in years there. And they were a 6-win team last year, so or 7-win team. I think 6 wins. Yeah, 6-11 last year. I don't know where the 5 extra wins are coming from. I know they were, destroyed by injury last year. They probably won't be quite as disastrous injury luck this year, but no Debo, no Greenlaw, who I understand they didn't he and Hufanga missed a lot of time last year with injury. Other losses on the defensive line. I do like them adding Robert Saleh, but that to me is an under.
Yeah. You've got the Rams. They're over-under set at 9.5.
And this to me is the clear and easy over. I think they're the best team in the division. Kind of a last ride with Stafford. They were able to keep their left tackle. I think Devontae Adams will be better than Cooper Kupp for them. They've drafted that defensive line full of young guys last year. You expect them all to be better. I wonder if they consider, spending a premium draft pick on a running back. Nothing against Kieran Williams, but I think there's a good running back class. Maybe they go tight end. I don't know, but I think the Rams are a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year. I don't mind paying the juice on the over 9.5 minus 130, especially when you consider the fact that they dealt like the Niners did with brutal injuries last year, and they still were the only team to give the Eagles a game in the playoffs, found their way into the playoffs, won the division, all that. All right, next.
We got the Seahawks. Their over-under is 8.5.
This is the only one I'm staying away from. I think they got worse at quarterback, and obviously they lost, some receivers, but I like their coach. I also think the schedule's not brutal, and so that's a stay away from me. And this was maybe the most shocking over-under on the board to me, Damonza.
We got the Cardinals. Their over-under set at 8.5.
Yeah, that's a steaming under. I don't know why we would think the Cardinals are going to win more games than they lose. I don't know why anyone would think Kyler's going to be able to be good for 17 games. I don't know what defensive personnel they have that you love other than Budda Baker. I know they have some young players they've invested money in, but I expect the Cardinals to be bad. I would have guessed their preseason over-under would have been 6.5 like it was last year. What did they do to earn? I understand they did win 8 games last year, but to earn a better benefit of the doubt, I don't get that one. So in the NFC, we are going Giants over, Commanders under, Bears over, Niners under, Rams over, and Cardinals under. All right, reminder to everybody, like, rate, subscribe, review, hit the bell, do all that stuff. It actually really helps. I'm going to check. Did we officially, during today's show, hit 200,000? I'm being told we did not. What a failure by us. Jeez Louise. I need to be better. Guys. Bad job by me. We got a few minutes left in today's show to hit it. I think we're like 200 away, but so we'll hit it at some point today. All right, Damonza, let's do some of these listener questions if we could.
Breezy says, do you think this is a good chance for Giannis to have a 2018 LeBron-type postseason?
Well, it would be. I mean, that's what he would have to do. I just don't. 2018 LeBron might be the single best version of LeBron. There's an argument for it, and Giannis is not quite that caliber of player, and the East is harder than it was in 2018. So it would be a chance for it, but I don't think he can do it. Next.
Rule of Halves asks, would you do one of those Jubilee shows versus 20 sports fans like Skip did? If so, what would you like the premise to be?
I'd never rule anything out. And I think it might be fun to debate a bunch of strangers. But so I wouldn't rule it out. So maybe I would do that at some point. That could be fun. I haven't watched the Skip thing.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, so maybe at some point. I'm not sure. Next.
Ronnie asks, Nick, if the Lakers beat the T-Wolves, could you see Minnesota go after Coach Mike Malone?
Well, I don't think they would fire Chris Finch. I do know, obviously, the Timberwolves, are built by the guy who built the Nuggets, and so they have a relationship. But I don't know if they'd fire Chris Finch. I think he's done a good job. But yes, if they did fire Chris Finch, I assume that's who they would go for.
Right.
Next.
Quan asks, if Jimmy Butler wins, is it bad for basketball? Guys like Tatum, Jokic, Ant, Harden, LeBron, and so on should just rest and relax during the regular season and then turn it on.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, but A, Jimmy's an older player. He didn't always do this. He has the last few years. And B, if you're saying if he wins the entire thing, I get what you mean. Like if he wins the whole thing and is awesome the whole way, like that we would want guys, it would make the regular season feel less important. I get that, but I think bad for basketball is too strong. All right, next. Go to hard to find.
Hard to find as a double question. Nick, do the Mavs still retire Luka's number? And Damonza, when are you streaming again?
Oh, okay. Well, you want to answer your question?
All streams. There's some new games that I feel might be nice to have other people watch me do. But I just always started doing the streaming thing, and I feel like I get a little bit weird about like being inside of my apartment and.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I feel I feel a little strange about it once I start the video. But yeah, I'll definitely take a crack at it soon, and you guys will be alerted.
And then he has said, will the Mavs still retire Luka's number? That's an interesting one. I mean, if so, it won't be for a very, very long time. Like it'd be after his career. The answer's probably not. Like maybe we got to see how the whole thing
you
plays
trade
out.
a guy away and then retire his number. It's kind of weird.
Now some people think the Heat should retire Jimmy's number at some point. So I don't know. Like,
not if you're annoying on your way out. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And Noel said, "What about the AFC win totals?" That was our April 8th episode. So you can go back on the YouTube page or in a podcast feed, and you'll be able to find my full thoughts on all of those. All right, great job, Damonza. Great job, Blue Duck Volume, DraftKings, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the playoff basketball this weekend. Possibility for a Sunday morning, Easter morning. Ooh, Sunday's Easter. Easter Sunday emergency episode, potentially, if the family will allow it, and if we can do it for after Lakers-Timberwolves and day one of the NBA playoffs. See you guys on TV in a few hours. What's right?